The carb cravings in the afternoon, the late afternoon, still to this day haunt me. I still have issues with craving a bunch of carbs at 4 or 5 p.m. when I get home from the office. Okay, the same stuff that plagued me when I was overweight before. And there are serious reasons to why this happens, and it's not as simple as the mainstream wants you to think. I wish it was as easy as just calories in, calories out. Okay, but if we look at calories in, calories out as why we're gaining weight or why we're not losing weight, that's implying that every calorie we take in is burning the same way. If you were to put that into an analogy with like a campfire or a forest fire, that implies that a fire is going to burn the same way regardless of environment, regardless of humidity, regardless of wind. I mean, a forest fire is clearly going to burn more rampantly with a lot more wind and less humidity, right? Well, we are still talking about burning calories in our body, and we have all kinds of different cues that are making calories burn differently under different circumstances. And when it comes down to afternoon cravings, it all has to do with our circadian rhythm. It's not about eating certain things that are triggering blood sugar spikes. No, the biggest flaw with the whole calories in, calories out thing is that our circadian rhythm and our timing of our meals is vastly just incorrect. A study that was published just a couple months ago, in 11th of November 2020, found that subjects that stopped eating at 7 p.m. significantly lost more weight than subjects that stopped eating a couple hours later. Same calories, same macros. But then another study that was published just a few weeks later on November 30th, 2020, published in Current Biology, took a look at two groups. One group ate from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and the other group ate from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. Same calories, same foods. Okay, the group that stopped eating at 7 p.m., okay, the 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. group had significantly more weight loss, better insulin sensitivity. They had a higher resting energy expenditure. They burned more calories at rest, which completely defies the whole calories in, calories out thing because they were more metabolically driven. But they also ended up having a better respiratory quotient, which means that they were utilizing more fat as a fuel source. So let's get right to what you can do. Okay, we need to shift how we eat. We need to stop consuming so much in the evening, but that's easier said than done. So how do we do this? Okay, well, step number one is going to be doing everything you can to have 75% of your calories before 2 p.m. You're saying, Thomas, okay, cool, that's great. Great information, woohoo. Yeah, actually do it and you will see what happens, okay? If you compress most of your calories, I'm not saying that you stop eating after 2 p.m., but 75% of your calories before 2 p.m., and you will see a huge difference. The second one is setting a very clear, hard line when you stop eating. For me, that number is 6:30 p.m. Sure, I'll indulge every once in a while and eat past that, but 6:30 p.m. is where I draw the line. What does that do for me? Well, first of all, it aligns my eating with the circadian clock, and it aligns my eating with environmental cues, with light cues. We're designed to be consuming calories when we have natural light hitting us. Everything changes hormonally, okay? We become a lot more of a moist, humid environment for that fire to burn, that metabolic fire to burn once melatonin kicks in and our sleep cycle starts to kind of hit, right? So we end up storing more. We're not burning as hot. We need to align it with the daylight as much as we can. So at 6:30 p.m., I stop, but it does another thing. It makes it so that the next morning, I wake up deeper into a fast anyway. Even if I'm not intermittent fasting or doing some kind of fasting gobbledygook, if I'm just waking up and I'm deeper in a fast, that means I'm going to get more out of my workouts and things like that. Okay? It also creates hunger pressure. And what I mean by hunger pressure is it makes it so that I actually want to eat more and I want to eat healthier things in the morning. Get more fat in the morning. And this isn't because I want you to be satiated. I'm not talking about hunger cues as much. I'm talking about natural rhythms. Your body has more of the proper genes aligned to utilize fat if you consume it in the morning. You are less likely to store fat from dietary fat in the morning. So what do? Use things like MCT oil and olive oil in abundance in the morning. Okay, MCT oil in the morning, like having a keto coffee or something like that, is already a thermogenic fat. It alone will boost your metabolic rate. Okay, and there's studies that demonstrate 5% increase in overall thermogenic effect simply by having a few grams of MCT oil. Okay, but olive oil has this other effect on our core body temperature too. So in other words, your genes are aligned to be expressed properly in the morning to have more fats. That way you can get more of your calories in the morning too. Step 4 is going to be having a lower carb breakfast. Whether you are keto or not, a lower carb breakfast is going to make it so you don't have the double blood glucose spike. So sure, when you consume carbs in the morning, you have one blood glucose spike and a drop. But did you know there's kind of an interesting phenomenon that occurs? You end up having a secondary spike, okay? And this secondary spike comes a few hours later. Okay, and it's kind of random. It's a weird response that has to do with kind of that secondary response that has to do with glucagon and everything. It's a weird, complicated thing. But basically, it makes it so that around lunchtime, you randomly get hungry again. And guess what? We have this problem where we're eating light breakfasts and we're stacking our calories more and more. So as we're trying to adopt this lifestyle of quick on the go in the morning, we have these light breakfasts and we think we're doing ourselves a favor. And then next thing you know, we're stacking our calories towards the end of the day because we're thinking total. I need X amount of calories throughout the day, and I only ate 200 calories with breakfast, so I'm starting to have more of my calories with lunch and more with dinner. And for people that are trying to find like lower carb, higher fat things to eat in the morning when they are on the go, this is where I would recommend Thrive Market. I put a link down below so you can check them out. They're what I use. I'm on the go a lot too, so it just makes sense because there's a lot of easy things that I can add to my lower carb, higher fat diet to begin with. So they're an online membership-based grocery store. There's a link down below if you want to check them out. That way you can get whatever you really want as far as some of the stuff that I'm talking about. So they get it delivered right to your doorstep. A lot of times it's more economically feasible than going to the grocery store, and the prices are usually better than most grocery stores too. So it's pretty awesome. So anyway, special link down below to check out Thrive Market. Check them out after you watch this video, please. Actually, leading on with that, step 5 is adding some specific things to your lunches in the way of resistant starches and in the way of specific kinds of fibers. Okay, again, some of these things you can get through Thrive Market. Sounds contrived in a pitch, I know, but it's also realistic. Okay, so the first thing, if you are consuming carbs and you're not doing keto, sweet potatoes contain a specific kind of resistant starch, and these resistant starches signal some various responses within the body. It's not just about fiber, it's about having a specific response that triggers the hypothalamus to kind of turn off the need to want to like crave a lot more food. Also, various forms of inulin and very long chain inulin, so artichokes and some of these other prebiotic fibers with lunch are actually a great thing to do, a great thing to implement. But what I would recommend is adding them in slowly, because if you're not accustomed to these kinds of fibers at lunch, then you might end up feeling bloated and a little bit gassy later in the day. A lot of times we end up having things like artichokes and fibers and stuff like that. We end up having them in the evening, so we don't always notice the bloating and the gassiness that we get because we're asleep. So you want to introduce them slowly, but it makes a huge impact. Another thing that you could do is utilize something called green banana flour, and you can mix this into a shake or anything. Green banana flour is a specific kind of resistant starch as well that can feed the gut bacteria and allow you to kind of fight those cravings. But one thing that I do is I make either a decaf keto coffee or a decaf keto tea. So I'll get like decaf coffee and I'll still mix my butter and my MCT oil and stuff like that, and I'll make a decaf version that I can have with lunch so I still get those calories. You really have to make a concerted effort to get those calories earlier on, because everything in the world is trying to tell us to have our calories later in the day. You want to shift that, remember. Step 6 is a wild one. Okay, step 6 is manipulating light a little bit. Now, you can say whatever you want, okay, but our body has environmental cues, and when the sun comes up, it's triggering us to be more metabolically active because we are awake and the sun is up, okay? So what you want to try to do is do what you can first thing in the morning to get a good amount of natural light. Now, if you can't get natural light, you can do all kinds of different things. You can use red light therapy. There's ways that you can manipulate it, and I'm not going to go into detail in this video because people always think I'm crazy when I talk about red light therapy, but I don't know. I guess I'll be laughing all the way to staying lean, right? So if you get up in the morning and you expose yourself to some bright natural light, get outside, do red light therapy, whatever, it triggers those cues within your body to kind of rev up the metabolism. It's also going to make you hungrier. Have you ever noticed that in the wintertime, people tend to gain weight? It's not just because of the holidays. It continues a lot of times from January, February, March. Why? The days are shorter. So when people are waking up, it's still dark. So they're not really getting that light. And then guess what? They get in their cars, they go to the office, or they go in their home office and they go to work. And then they don't see the light. And they might see the light at like 2, 3 p.m. when they get outside for a little bit, but their entire circadian rhythm and environmental cues and light cues are thrown out of whack. This changes exactly when they crave food. This is part of our problem. Then the summer comes and it's getting light at 5:30 a.m. So when we wake up, it's already light and we're tempted to go outside. It makes perfect sense. So anyhow, I know I'm not giving you specific little snacks and things to eat, but this is a real true way to fundamentally change your cravings. change when you actually crave food. It's okay that you're going to crave. They're still there. We just want the cravings in the morning, not in the afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow.